Hello, Henrik Krommen Jensen. Welcome back to the show. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm good.
So
All
what's
good
up?
here.
What's new? I mean, in the free man on the land, natural law, and all that kind of stuff. Anything new? Have we won? Have we lost?
I guess the freeing oneself of the matrix or the system or law, whatever you want to call it, government, is really an individual journey for each one of us. I don't think that we're all gonna be, raising a flag tomorrow and we're all free of the state governments. But what has come to my attention in the since last time we spoke, is that we have found out why these events happen when we go into court and using the live claim. We didn't know that before. It was kind of like we go to court, we show the live claim, and I was thrown out of court 4 times in 1 year. I'm like, what's going on here? Why is that happening? That has come to light now why that is. And what I have come to find out is that really, in law, our birth certificate is really a deed. Like you buy a house, you get a deed for the house, tells everyone you own the house or the car or any other property, brings a deed with it. And what the actual law definition of what the live claim is a counter deed to counter the official birth certificate, which is made public. It's actually sold to the public, so you become public property. But when you
Okay.
do a counter deed, that supersedes or overrides the official document and makes it into a private document, and you're taking ownership of the property back to yourself.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so I found this out kind of by mistake. So it turns out in law, most law students and everything, they are using a dictionary called Black's Law's Dictionary. And that came out, I think, first time in the 1800, and there's like 10 or what is it now, 12 versions of it. And in every version of that dictionary, the word counterdeed is very specifically defined. And I just want to bring up the definition, which is very clear. And there's no doubt when you read it how it is described in Black's Law's Dictionary. So give me a second.
Yeah.
Can I share my
I'm
screen, or
afraid not. You
I'm
should
going
have
to
told
send
me.
it to you then? I'm going to
Yeah, and
send
I
it
will.
to you.
I will put a link to it.
Okay, good. So
So
that's what we figured out, is that it's a counter deed. And of course, what judges are when you come into the court, they're not really judges. They are what is called an administrator, magistrate. They're really administering the state's affairs. And the state is, like we know now, a corporation. And a corporation needs administrators. And that's what the judges are. So they know what deeds are, counter deeds. So when they see this, in my case, they were freaking out. And I didn't know why, but I do certainly now. So yeah, I've
okay.
sent it to you there. This is the actual wording that is coming out of, and I can read it out loud. A counter deed in legal terms refers to a document that negates or counters the effect of another deed. It is often used to clarify or correct the terms of an original deed. This might include rectifying errors according to terms or completely nullifying the original deed. Counter deeds can be crucial in ensuring that all parties involved in legal agreements are fully aware of the agreement of the terms as intended. So yeah, this is
Okay.
what the live claim is.
I understand. I just want to go through for people who don't know this. I let you speak, and now I want to just go
Yes.
through every part again. So first of all, there's a live claim. Let's briefly explain what that is.
Yeah. So it's a document that you make yourself. And in our case, we are using the syntax grammar, which has its own flag. And we put that in the top. And then we write in syntax who we are, where we were born, who is our parents, and when was this event took place. And then you have two witnesses, and you have your picture, you have your fingerprint, and you have a DNA sample.
Which is my hair.
It could be your hair. It could be other DNA samples too, like.
And let's compare the Life claim to a normal passport or an ID card. So yes. I would have thought that an ID card, if you put this person here, this flesh and blood, and I hold up my ID, and then I also hold up my Life claim. So why is the Life claim more of evidence who this physical person is? Well, first of all, on the Life claim, unlike on the ID, you have a DNA sample of this human being. You have my fingerprint of this human being, so you could verify. You could take this Life claim and say, okay, Michael, come here. Please show me your fingerprint. And you'll compare it to the one on the Life claim, and you see this is actually this person. Unlike the ID, where there's no connection really other than a photo of this flesh and blood and the ID, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and why is it so important to have a Life claim which is more genuine or accurate than an ID?
Because any state issued IDs is issued by an authority for profit. Okay, so when they create, let's say, a driver's license which is based off your birth certificate, that is a new ID. It has your face. It has the flag. I can show you the Danish driver's license looks like this. It has the EU flag here.
Yeah.
So this vessel is operating in public, on the roads and stuff, in the air when you're flying, under this flag, because you're using this to identify yourself. Same with your state passport. It has a picture of you. But it's issued and it's sold to the public for profit.
What do you mean sold to the public? Your driving license was sold to the public?
Yes.
How? So in an auction? On eBay?
No, it's the application that you fill out is a surety. And what the banks do, they create securities from sureties, and the security they sell on the stock market.
So when you go to the DVLA in England and the Ministry of Transport in any country, and you apply for a driving license and you pay a fee, let's say, I don't know, 25 euros, and that fee is basically you buying from the state your own ID card.
Yes.
Which is, okay, now you come along and say, well, no, I have something better. I have a Life claim. So I'm like, well, why should I even bother creating my own Life claim? How is it going to serve me?
It's going to serve you in the way that when you make a document in the private, it belongs to the creator of that thing. You write a book, you put your name, Michael, on the book. You own the book. You're the author, right? And it's your property. Anyone takes it, copies it, uses your material without your permission is committing copyright infringement.
And so are you saying that people who wrote books and have not used the Life claim don't have the rights to the book?
No, their name has the right to the book, but the name is not your name because you didn't choose your own name. Your parents told you your name's Michael.
How can that work against any famous J.K. Rowling? She wrote Harry Potter, and how is she not benefit, or how is she? What risk is she taking? What adverse situation might occur as a result of her writing Harry Potter and not using her own Life claim? She's still getting the royalties and everything.
Yes, but technically it is her name that owns it, but her name is owned by the government. And why is that so?
So what might happen to her? So what might happen? They can claim taxes on her profits or what?
They can claim taxes but they can claim everything else because she can only use her name, but they legally own the name because the only paper in existence that ties her life to that name is the birth certificate.
Okay.
Because all documents created that you're using in your daily life, your bank card, your driver's license, your passport, are all created off of that deed that belongs to the government.
Okay, so let's go back
to the public.
So let's look at the birth certificate. So the birth certificate, let's compare that to the life claim.
Yeah.
So why is the life claim more advantageous for the person than the birth certificate? Or how is the birth certificate creating issues for the human?
It is because when you come to court, they are looking not at you as a man, they're looking at you as a property that they created the deed to. They even created a company in your name called the Sister Key Trust. And they are trading that. Why? Because they own it, because they are the author. But the counter deed goes in, and like I told you, it negates the counter deed.
But before we get to the counter deed, so so there's a birth certificate, and then there's all this information and this whole science that talks about how the judge tries to create a joinder because the judge is talking to the paper called Michael Bloom, and the human unknowingly takes responsibility for the paper when the judge says, do you accept, or please rise up, and do you understand, and all that. So yes. I can understand that if you come to court and you show the life claim, then a joinder cannot be created, and then no one can prosecute you for anything. So that's a huge advantage.
Oh, yes.
But in reality, you said that when you went to court with the life claim, you were thrown out 4 times and it didn't work until you found out this new thing, correct?
No, the life claim did work because I was not prosecuted for anything. All references to these cases has disappeared from the court records.
Okay.
This even my attorney has verified. Went in there. We have 4 cases claimed by the claimant, me, that happened in this courthouse. There's no record, not a single.
So evidence. What happened? Tell me about the first case. What's the first case about?
The first case was a parking ticket, unpaid parking ticket. So I walk in there and they ask. They come out in the hallway and they call your name and you don't answer. And they call your name again and you don't answer. And the third time they call the name, you say, I'm here about this case. And so they ask you the question, are you so-and-so? And you don't answer, but you walk up to them and say, I have this for you. And then they grab it. Now they may join with you. And then they look at it as the human. And it looks, it's a claim.
And you physically walked up to the judge and you gave it to him and he took it.
Yeah, this was a bailiff, it's a judge, bailiff, whoever is running the case. So you give it to them. Like, anyone coming to court, they have a piece of paper. Why are you here? What's it about? Oh, okay, here's the paper. You give them the life claim because it is a claim of life. And it's a private document and it has all the data that the birth certificate has. So you have identified yourself with the name, but it's written in correct syntax.
I understand. So you went up there, you gave it to him, and what happened? So the bailiff looked at it and went, what? Get out of my courthouse?
First, they looked at it and didn't know what it was. So they went in, closed the door, said, wait here a minute, and looked at it, came back out and said, the case has been postponed. You have to come back another day.
Okay.
First time. And then the second time, a similar situation. The third time.
But did you come back? I'm talking about the first case. So they invited you back to court on another date. So you went home and came back 3 weeks later. Still about the first case.
Yeah, no. It was 3 months later.
Yes.
3 or 4 months later, I got another case. It was I think it was some other ticket of some kind or some violation of their fiction way how they make money. And as you know, the government is a for-profit corporation. They are incorporated like a company, like anyone else. Like it's a franchise, like 7-Eleven. No different. And they have the same rights. So you go in again, and they call this name, and you're there about that name because it is really your name. At least I took copyright on my name and trademarked it. So anyone trading is infringing on trademarks.
Okay.
Which is also a law. So the live claim says, I'm not this legal, fictitious entity you have created. I'm the living man here standing in front of you with my paperwork to identify these are my ship's papers, because your body is defined under maritime law as a vessel because you can move around in sea or space. That's how it's defined in the United States Code or any other code under maritime law.
But the life claim supersedes that. It cancels that. It says, no, this is not a vessel. This is a human being.
Yes.
Okay. So then you came back about the second case, and I guess you did the same thing. You gave him the life claim, and they said, okay, go away and come back in 3 months. So now you're expected twice in 3 months later. Once for the first case and for the second case. So what happened to the first case? I'm trying to understand. Have you ever appeared in court again about the second case?
Never.
So when the date arrived, the date you were meant to go to court, did you not go to court about the first case?
The first case disappeared after that time.
So basically, you wanted to go to court because they said come back in 3 months, but then your lawyer said, look, I checked through the records of the court, but the case disappeared. So there's no point to go there because it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, no, this was back in 2019. I had made my live claim. I thought I'm going to try this out when I go to court because, in Denmark, you get a lot of parking tickets. So it's quite easy to get a court date. Not that you want to, but they are using that. So they send you a letter. You have to appear in court this and this day because of someone, blah, 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 claiming that you owe them some money for parking illegal. So that case disappeared. There has been no record of it. So I forget all about the case. I forget about the live claim. I go on in my life. 3 months later, there was another case. I think it was some kind of a dispute over I think it was a lawyer's bill or something. That doesn't really matter, but it was the same story. I go to the court, and then the same thing happens, and I'm sent back home. And again, I forget about it. 6 months goes by, and another old, I think it was 2 or 3 year old parking ticket that they had tried to keep, claiming a fee for. So I walk in there again, and I told my friend the story, and he didn't believe me. So I said, come to court with me, and I'll show you. So he came along, many years old friend, and he is like a juror, has done for about 12 years, jury service, and he didn't believe me. So come along and see the circus, and it was literally a circus because the woman was freaking out again. It was just a bailiff. She asked me to leave and get out of my courtroom, get out of the court building. And he was, of course, filming this, so we have it on tape. So, and then I had another case involving my daughter, and I had a lawyer on that. And she was trying to, figure out stuff with them. And I told her, by the way, I have this live claim. This is what I used, and this is what it did. And she didn't believe me either. So she went home and she, investigated the case. So she looked up in that court of that district in Denmark, and she came back to me and said, that's not possible because there's no record of any cases of you in 2019. The last one was like in December. So the whole year had gone by, and I had been in there 4 times in total, and no record of any cases. Any cases of the 4 cases.
So now that you've clarified this live claim and how efficient it is, let's go back to the beginning of the interview. You mentioned that there's something new, that now you have something new, which is way better than what you had, and something to do with the deed, and stuff that never worked will work, but everything already worked. So why do you need to change something that's already working?
No, I'm not changing it. I'm saying what has happened since we spoke last time is I have found out what the live claim is in law. I have found the actual definition of what it means and getting
Okay.
the explanation why it works.
I see. So now you basically, so it worked 4 times. You didn't really know why it worked. You had, I mean,
Exactly.
you presumed it's probably because of this and because of that, but you didn't really know as a fact what exactly is their reason for throwing you out of court and deleting the cases. And now you
Yes.
know why. So let's go back to this. A counter
Yeah.
deed in legal terms refers to a document that negates or counters the effect of another deed. I see. So the original deed is the ID card, and the live claim is the counter deed that cancels, that negates it. Okay, it is often used to clarify or correct the terms of an original deed. This might include rectifying errors, adding additional terms, or completely nullifying the original deed, which is what you did with your live claim. You have completely nullified the ID. Counter deeds can be crucial in ensuring that all parties involved in legal agreement are fully aware of and agree to the terms. Okay, great, as intended. So that's great. So now you know. What else? So what? So you know. It doesn't really make a difference because it worked even before you knew. Now you know.
Yes. Yes.
And how? Maybe you could tell me about. I mean, other than not paying parking tickets, what other advantages does having your own live claim have?
Well, it certainly takes you out of the role of being a government slave. I think everyone somewhere has this experience of being a slave to the system. They do with you whatever they want and push you around whatever they want. This is a way to get out of that situation if that's what you want. I mean, maybe anyone that is quite comfortable with their life, of course, this is not relevant to even discuss. But in any legal matter you have anything to do with the system, bring your claim of life and just show it to them, and you don't even have to speak, because the fact that you show them in Black's Law's dictionary is defined as a secret writing under seal, which means you've autographed it with your fingerprint. Remember, we do the live claim and we put fingerprints, and
Oh
we
yeah.
don't. What are we doing here? I don't understand it, because the official document is stamped by, a public official that issues it. They put their stamps on. It's a seal, makes it authorized as a legal document. But we put our fingerprint on. That's our seal. Mm-hmm. So, that's if you have a live claim, and of course I make these live claims for people, like you have an experience yourself.
Yep.
And so this stuff works, and you don't have to deal with any system, any courtrooms, anything. And if they write to you, you can write back, thank you for your invitation, but I'm not coming. Here's my live claim, and just send it off. And the judge will have to drop the case because they have no jurisdiction over living men or
Yeah,
women.
I understand. This is amazing. I mean, I admit I did it with you. You showed me how to do it, and I did my own live claim. I haven't actually used it because I never received any parking ticket or anything, and I understand it. But let's just talk about the whole thing for people who don't know what we're talking about. Let's say that somebody is like, I'm going to be like, I'm going to ask questions as if I don't know anything about this subject. So I'm saying to you, okay, you are saying to me, I understand that the whole system is one big fraud, which is meant to trick us. But let's go back. So if we go back 50,000 years, cavemen, or even 20,000 years, so there were no IDs back then. A human
Right.
was like a tree, like a cat, like a wild boar, like a lion. A lion today doesn't have a birth certificate, or a cat doesn't have a birth certificate. I mean, a wild cat, and humans do. So I imagine that at some point, this system was introduced by
Oh, yes.
some forces. So do you know when was this introduced, and why was it introduced?
Ooh, that's a big question. First
you
of all,
you don't have to give me the exact date. I'm trying to understand what's behind all this.
Absolutely. Okay, so a fact is we don't know our own history. It's been kept secret from us. We're told some kind of stupid story. We're cavemen, we came from caves, and we evolved into this. This is not the facts. If you look back in history, our ancestors were much more advanced people than we are. They could build pyramids. We can't build a pyramid today. Ancient civilizations has been on this planet for tens of thousands of years. It's a fact. You can go and check it for yourself. There are structures in the world nobody can explain how they got there, who made them, what did they fall out of the sky? No, it was carved out of a whole rock. And so the whole world is loaded with this stuff that indicates that our story we learned in school is BS, shortly said. So what we have done is a group of people, multiple people throughout the last 30 years have found this out. And you can actually go back in 1924 is when this system was brought into, well, actually 1912 was put into place. And there has been declassified a meeting that took place in the White House in 1912 between two men, Woodrow Wilson, which was the president, and a man called Edwin Mantelhouse. And he talks about how they are going to soon establish the system, and every man and woman will have to register their biological offspring. That's the wording. I'm going to make that someone is reading that what happened. It was a transcript that was made. And it's even in a book called Fruit from the Poisonous Tree by a man called Melvin Stamper. It's in there in that book where you can read it for yourself, or you can hear someone on YouTube reading this out loud, so you know who the culprits are, who put the system in place. And he talks about how this is going to make all these bankers so rich because they're going to use this and make money off it. And how they do that is explained in that meeting. So this is not me that made this up or figured this out. I just found it like a lot of other people did.
So if we go 200 years back, let's say in 1800, this system did not exist. So humans back then were not registered.
So yeah, what I figured out, in Denmark, we had the citizenship introduced in 1776.
Isn't that with the American independence or something like that?
Absolutely, yes. So in 1776 in Denmark, the king was the Danish king. He was also king of Norway. His name was Christian the Sixth or Seventh, I can't remember. I think it was 7. And he made a deal with the United States bankers back then to make us into citizens, both the Danes and the Norwegians people, because he was also king of Norway until I think it was 1816. So everyone in Denmark became citizens. And that is a whole legal framework, you can look that up, that came from the United States. And so we became part of the franchise, because it's like a franchise, like 7-Eleven. Oh, they have citizenships in Denmark, in the United States. Let's bring it to Denmark and to Norway and to Israel and to all these countries. And let's all have the same phony, fake money that is not money, which is fiat currency. That's another franchise. Banks, central banks, is a franchise of the Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C. In fact, look it up in the dictionary. It says it. What is a bank? What is a central bank? What is a national bank? All these definitions are in these legal definitions and dictionaries.
So how is this registry of biological offsprings, which started, I think, in 1776? They just had a conversation about it in 1912, but it started way earlier. The actual registration. How's that connected to the fiat currency scam?
Well, because property you need to have proof that you own the property. You need to have proof that you own your house, own your car, otherwise you stole it, So those papers are created and they are then turned into what is called bonds because it has value. So you say you own a house for $1 million and you want to, go to the bank because you want some money to redecorate it. So there's made fiat currency that you get a credit for because your house is worth enough and you paid enough of it. So again, this is all just fiction value based on bankers' opinion. And the whole stock market is loaded and full of these papers. What I do in my classes, and I'm restarting a new class here in 1st of August, I show how your name and how your social security number is traded on the stock exchange. I looked it up myself, and I was traded over 600,000 times.
Really? This is something I've never... I heard it so many times, but I cannot wrap my head around how is it actually happening? How do they use my name to trade? I mean, do I even have any value? I mean, how does my value go up? The older I am, the less I'm worth?
Well, because you work, and bankers don't work. They sit and push papers. All they do is write papers. You go, you work, your life produces value. And they then take, your body and say, oh, this is our property. That's why they're fighting about citizenship. Most of you can't go across a border without showing a passport, but the passport is really it's just who owns that trading unit that you are, and then they're arguing about who owns their own citizenship, which is really ships or cargo, the way it's defined, and they're trading on it. That's it.
I don't understand. So I am a ship owned by, if I have an Israeli citizenship, then I'm owned by the Israeli government or the Israeli central bank?
The paperwork is issued by the state you were born in, but it is being sold, and it's been sold to the public. This might be a strange concept for many people, but everybody understands there's something called public, and when you close your door at night, that's private. But the public has, when we had Corona, the public law says blah, 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 all these laws about the public. The public is a trust. That trust was created by the United States, called the Public Charitable Trust, the PCT. That abbreviation you can find in legal documents today, especially when they do patents, because you have to register your patent in the Public Charitable Trust to have the protection for your patent. And you can look up the corona patents, and you can see that in there, and all these other diseases, they are patented. They have patent numbers, and they're using the abbreviation that it's in the public. So the public is a trust, and a trust is also a bank. And the government is then government of Israel, part of the public as a franchise. And you got the same laws in Israel about the financing system, about the roads, about taxes, about all this stuff. That's not Israel's government that figured this out. This is a franchise imported from the United States.
Okay, so how did you... because?
Yeah, because and a synonym, what a synonym is? The United States, if you look it up in their own definitions, it means a federal corporation.
Okay, but how did you find out that you were traded 600,000 times? Where did you look it up?
Yeah, so there's a utility online. I can't remember the name of it, but I have the link to it. And you punch in your social security number. And many people tried it and it didn't work. And I was like struggling a little bit with it. Then I figured out what the trick was. The trick is the last digit of your social security number. You have to have a space in between and then the last number. Mm-hmm. When you do that, then it works. And I could see that. And I did it with my daughter as well. She's like 13. She was traded over 800,000 times.
So where did you see it? You click search, and then it shows you what? It shows you this social security number, and it shows you the actual transactions that it was sold to this company, and then they sold it on the stock exchange. How does it work? On the Bloomberg terminal, New York Exchange? What? How does it work? I don't understand.
It's government bonds. You've heard about the government issuing bonds, and people buy them, and they make a profit on it. So basically, when people buy a bond, they are lending their money to the government. Right? So that's the idea. So when you look up, you'll get a long list, and you'll see how many records is presented. It cannot show you 600,000 records. That's why it's giving you the number. But it's called a LEI number, and the LEI is an abbreviation that you can find if you go to the credit registry of all companies called Dun & Bradstreet.
Yeah.
There you look up the LEI number, and you can see what company bought that stock and that day.
So how did they buy it? I mean, they have brokers. Like, how would a let's say that you're a stockbroker that buys and sells humans. Does the stockbroker know it? Does he have trends and graphs, showing that an Israeli citizen at the age of 23 is now highly demanded, so it's time to sell, and then you could put in a spot, I don't know, automatic sale that if the stock goes lower, then it'll sell it or buy it. I don't get it.
No, so you go to your stockbroker. Let's say you want to buy some stock. You made a lot of money, or you got a bonus. You want to invest it. So you go to a stockbroker and he says, "How can I invest this money in a sure thing?" They will say, "Government bonds are good." But nobody knows what these government bonds has underneath as surety.
Okay.
The man sitting here, Mr. X, is the surety to those government-issued bonds. Because why? Because you are a citizen of that country. That country trades in the bonds of you because they issued the deed to your body.
See, I think I'm getting it, because the official story I know is, which I think ties in very well, is that bonds are like a future promise to pay you back. And where will the government get the money to pay you back? From the taxes it's going to raise from its own citizens. So it's,
amongst other things,
so it's physical money that this body will give the respective government, and they can count on it and actually sell and trade in it. I finally got it. Amazing.
Exactly. And it takes time to get it. It took long time for me to get it. Took a long time to get the whole live claim and why that is working. But even the author of the live claim knew what he was doing, and he knew about the counter. He must have, because all he said is, make the live claim, just use it and just show it in court. You don't have to know anything about it to use it.
See, so if we trace everything back, then let's just say hypothetically, let's say that every Israeli citizen or Danish citizen or English citizen is going to make a live claim, then the government of that country won't be able to sell any more bonds.
Yes.
It'll go bankrupt.
I don't think so, because they have many customers already, and some of them are happy customers, and that's fine. I mean, if you like your life and you're not dissatisfied with anything, but if you sort of like me, I was always a little suspicious of it, and now, after this is 5 years I'm on my journey. This is year 6 now, and I figured this out.
And if everything yes, you had?
Yeah, I had the tools very early on, and I used them, and I got these results, and I was puzzled about it. But now we know why it's working, and we know this.
So let's say hypothetically that you are given the task of changing the system, okay? The bad guys are being removed, and now you need to define the ideal system in an ideal world. How would it look like?
First of all, that's not my job. Second of all, I don't really have any interest.
Hypothetically.
In that. Right. So, I mean, it's a good question. You would definitely have to trade in something that is not human beings, but that is like silver or gold, like it says in the law. So even the controllers and the people running things, they changed it from gold and silver, like it says in the law, and turned it into paper, which is bonds, which is promises to pay, which is what a money note is, a promise to pay. They look like this now. Here in Denmark, we don't have the queen on them anymore. We have landmarks. We are Viking country, so we got Viking stuff here. But this is a promissory note. It's not money. It's actually a fraud because it doesn't say what currency it is. It just says kroner. It doesn't say Danish kroner. So this fiat system, it used to be, and I have actual lawful money lying around here somewhere.
So how is it connected to the money? So if I think I'm onto something. So the money is issued based on bonds, if I'm not mistaken. So now we figured out the bonds. So first of all, the country captivates its own people, turns them into pieces of paper, let's say, which is then traded, and also money is issued based on that, because the Federal Reserve, I think the Central Bank of Denmark, if the government wants money, they come to the central bank and they say, here, we'll give you bonds and you give us money. So now the country has issued money based on its citizens being bonds, and now carry on. So now you're saying, and I said, well, how would it be? How is it meant to be? How would then you're saying you started talking about gold. Okay, so carry on. So let's say citizens are no longer bonds. How will the government trade, or does it even need to trade? I don't know. So carry on, yeah.
Right. So what the rumors go, and again, it's rumors, and I have seen bills that is based on actual silver and gold of the United States, and that money is bills, which is, they used to say you can go to a bank and get this amount in gold, and you can walk on with the gold, but they can't do that. We can't do that anymore since 1933. That disappeared. So I think that a new money system, but again, I only hear rumors because we haven't seen anything change yet. We still have this useless paper. Would be that the bills are backed by commodity coming out of the earth, which is what silver and gold does. Precious metals has always been a payment in the history of the payment system, which goes back many thousands of years, back to the ancient Sumer. That's where we found the oldest traces of what is money today, which is clay tablets back then. But that concept was operating back then 4,000 years ago.
I see.
So the money system is quite an old idea.
Okay, so basically, theoretically, let's say all the bad guys are out and the good guys want to are ruling. So they're going to say, okay, from now on, every country has a certain amount of gold and silver, uranium, precious metals. That's going to represent the wealth of that country. Right. So Denmark has X metric tons of gold. They then set an international unit, or how much gold is how much whatever money, and we either have an international currency for everyone, which represents the amount of gold that every country has, or we have different currencies, and then there's exchange rates, no problem. Great. Let's take it a step further. Because even that's not 1,000. And now I'm just speculating and just philosophizing, and don't worry, it's just for fun, yeah.
Yeah, we're just having a conversation.
Yeah, so even that is not 100% fair, because all the resources in a country, including the precious metals, really belongs to all the citizens of that country. They don't even belong to the government. So, right. and if we take it a step further, let's say that all the precious metals and all the resources all over the world belongs to 9 billion people. Without countries, without anything. So the ideal system would be to somehow share the value of all the resources amongst all people, meaning we are all very, very rich. Every single human is a multi-billionaire, really, if the system is pure. And then people will just get. The government will just maybe run everything, but there will be no need to tax anyone, because there's a huge surplus, and there's extra. We are living, we're swimming in extra. I mean, if everybody got what they really deserve, they can't even consume the amount of resources that they represent compared to 9 billion people. So everything will change. It's like it's going to turn into to paradise.
And yes, absolutely. But the ones that has stored all the gold away and all the values away and all the rich wealth, really, they don't want to share it with us. So what they do, they invent diseases, not natural ones, because we have the patent numbers of the coronas and the SARS and all these viruses that we all supposed to be so scared of. It's man-made. And what do they do with that? Well, they spread that out there and make a good story, what really happened, what's not really what happened, which we know now. So they don't want to share it. And really, it doesn't really matter, because on my own personal sake, I'm not really interested in being ruled by anyone or being governed by anybody, because I have a right to be self-governed. And I found out that there's a treaty under the United Nations called the Convention of the Original People. And in there, you can go in and say, I will claim my status, political status, because that's another treaty under the International Bill of Human Rights. You have the right to decide your own political, economic, and social future. And you can choose that I have the status that my ancestors had before the citizenship came into life. Back then, we were native Danish. We were not citizens of anything. We were just born there. We just belong here because we're born here. So you can make that claim to make that status. This is what you want. I don't want to be a Danish citizen. I don't want to be Danish anything. I want to be a man living on the earth and do what humans do, which is not being sold for profit for other people. So
amazing. And also that explains why, I mean, if anybody, it's simple. There is a claim that humans are slaves. So if anybody requires an explanation, that's the explanation. The whole interview explains why we are slaves. And it's not, you can't argue with it. We are slaves. And the result of it is that everyone has to work 2 or 3 jobs, because everyone, if look out there, is this not slave-like behavior? Everywhere Absolutely. In the world, people wake up in the morning, they go to work, they do stuff they hate, they owe money to the bank, and they work very hard because they are slaves. Very, yes. Very simple. There's no argument here. There's even a very deep, detailed explanation of this modern slavery. So you're basically saying, well, I don't want to be, it's slavery by consent, as far as I understand, or yes. You've been tricked into being yes. slaves. Because you can ask everyone out there, they're going to say, well, we are not slaves. And you're going to say, well, actually you are slaves. And you could choose to continue being a slave, or you could just stop being a slave. Now, the thing with you is, you are not a slave on paper, but you still are a slave. You still go to work. You still need to make money. So even the person like you who is no longer a slave on paper, physically is still a slave.
Because the system needs to change. And the way the system changes is every single individual changes. That's how we change the system. We change our and not everyone else's life, because that's not really our business. Our business is our life. So that's why we start. And that's how we...
in order for you to stop being a slave, there has to be a critical mass of people who are going to do what you did, and that's going to have a knock-on effect whereby everyone else is going to do what you did, and then we're all going to stop being slaves. It's either all of us are not slaves, or we are all slaves.
It starts by changing the mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we figured out something else, because how did you become a citizen? You didn't become a citizen. And why did you become a citizen? Because you didn't apply for a citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is, when you're born and that birth certificate is made, you are born I was born in Denmark. I'm Danish. But they forgot to tell me that when they made the birth certificate, there was an adhesion contract, that's what they call it, to your nationality. They stick a contract there called an adhesion contract, which is the citizenship. But hang on a minute. They stick a contract onto my nationality, but they don't tell me about it. So there is not closure on the terms and conditions of the contract. When you find that out, guess what? The citizenship contract is void.
Yeah.
Because any contract that you don't know the terms and conditions of, if you object to it, it's void. It doesn't stand. So the whole system, like the money and the birth certificate, it's all fake. It's only because we have, like you say, under consent. The minute you say, I don't consent, I mean, excuse me, am I a citizen here? Can you show me the contract that I signed that I agreed to be a citizen? No, you cannot, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Still, you have to go out there and make fake money to feed your daughter.
Right.
Citizen or not.
Yeah. So actually there are options.
Which is the slave. This is exactly the prison. Because you are in prison, you know what I mean? They even say someone in prison could be free in his mind. He could do meditation all day long, while a person next to him in the cell next to him is depressed and crying all day long. So who would you rather be? I'd rather be the person who's free in his mind. But the fact is that they're both still behind bars.
And mental. It's a mental prison, right?
Yes.
Right. So there are other options now with other kinds of banks. Because really, the bank is the problem, because you're making and trading fiction money, which is gold and silver-based banks. You can actually buy your own gold now and store it in a safe place. Or you can have the quantum banking, which is also under the syntax grammar. And so these are new avenues that I'm exploring. And I'm, like I told you, I do a 12-month transformation, and right now I'm starting a new course on that. And in there we go through all this stuff and see all these documents and all these contracts and the remedies, how to get out of that and what other options there are. So, but
interesting. We're going to put a link to your details, so if anyone wants to join your course, then they can contact you. Wow, it's been such an interesting interview. Definitely eye-opening for me in terms of the bonds and the money and everything we discussed. Anything else you wish to add before we conclude?
Yeah, so I show you also, we found out these documents, how the Danish National Bank, how many bonds they're allowed to issue, because you see, to be part of this, you know, all currency on the planet is controlled by the Federal Reserve. And every bank must have a license issued by that bank to be part of the monopoly scam. And in there, we found the documents on the Danish National Bank's website, how many bonds they're allowed to issue, and the people that authorized it, which are 3 different banks. Strangely enough, an American bank, a Swedish bank, and Credit Suisse. Their names are in there. Everything is on paper with signatures, autographs, everything. So we're not making anything up. We're just digging it out of the dirt and finding out, oh, look at this. Wow, they can make this many bonds. Based on what? Oh, how many citizens do they have? Oh, okay. So you begin to, you know, put the puzzle together.
I see. So quite China is potentially the richest country because they have the most people.
Yeah, that will be. Because of the old money system, which is they're selling us.
Amazing. Okay. As I said, it's been fascinating to talk to you. I enjoyed every moment. And for that, I wish to say to you, Henrik Kroman Jensen, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.